Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horizon podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Hayes, your nutritionist, women's fitness coach, and I really like to deal with the emotional eating aspect of that. So, we're here today, we're talking about something I believe every woman really needs to hear about, and it's like really about why diets really does not work because I think it's so many times that people think it's their fault and it's not. um, you don't need like we all think that we need more discipline, we need more another program. We always jump in every Monday, we jump in from something one thing to the next. We want something with more rules, with more regulations. We feel that we can't cope unless we're so strict, and we'll keep running back to the same old things that we have been so used to. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about what it's really about. Is that it's not dealing with all of that. It's just about what you can align your body to. A way that's eating that works with your body and not against it. And I say this all the time because this is what I found that is much more important for us to really get to understand. And that starts with understanding what's really happening inside of our bodies after we turn 40, because like we know that there's so much going on, and we have been conditioned to think that we need to do everything that everybody else is doing. So here's what I see when I'm in coaching women, when I see practice, what I see every day. It's honestly that diets put you, when you do a diet, when you like go and you found someone's diet and you download it or you upload it, it puts you on somebody else's plan and really not your own plan. So think about it, right? Diets were created for the masses, for average people, um, or it was created for someone's ideal client. But is it created specifically for you? And this is where, again, my coaching is different because I really like to create a diet especially for you and for your circumstances. It doesn't know like your work schedule. If you download something right now off the internet, you don't know your work schedule. It doesn't know your family dynamics. It doesn't know your food preferences, your health history, right? It's like really going into into like your sister's bag and pulling out her prescription glasses and deciding that, you know what, her prescription glasses is the exact one for me. And then you're like wondering like, it's, well, why am I not seeing clearly? And that's the problem right there, because you're using somebody else's prescription. So a lot of like these diets that you download or you find online and stuff like that, a lot of them ignore certain things that we really should really be paying attention to. So it ignores how you digest food. It ignores your sleep patterns. It ignores your hormones, your hormone health. What's going on with you specifically? Because most diets are built around one thing: calories in and calories out. But we have to understand that our body isn't like a calculator, right? It's a complex system. So if you're around our age, postmenopausal, perimenopausal, your estrogen, progesterone, they're shifting dramatically. If you're living under a very stressed condition, your levels of cortisol and other hormones like your ghrelin and all of that stuff like that, they are changing. And it changes the way our body stores fat and our way our body reacts to the foods we eat in. So if we're not sleeping well, as I mentioned before, the hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, they're completely out of balance. And this is why it's just so important. I'm not saying that every night you need to get this magic of 7 to 9 hours sleep, because again, that's not a reality that most women live in, right? Most people are still taking care of babies, they're still taking care of jobs, they have to wake up, like for example, for me, like I wake up not even 7 o'clock in the morning. If I'm off work, I might, but I wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock to get ready for work, to get to work for 7 o'clock. So unless I'm going to bed at literally 8:30, there's no way that I am awake. I'm getting like that magical 9 hours of sleep, right? So those hunger hormones, when we don't get the sleep, is off balance. However, there are ways that you can actually fix that by having a better sleeping program, right? And we'll talk about that a little later. So, but also when you are thinking that those hormones are off balance, honestly, none of that fits into these restrictive diets, these like 1100, 1200 calorie meal plan. It doesn't fit, right? Because what they assume that your body behaves the same way it did when you were 20 or 30. And I hear this all the time. I used to be able to skip meals. I used to be able to just eat one meal a day and lose weight very easily. And now nothing's happening. But the reality is your metabolism has changed. Your muscle mass, which has naturally declined without, and if you are not somebody that does strength training or any kind of like muscle resistance, those hormone levels are different now. So what works in your 20s actually backfires now that you're in your 40s and 50s and eating too little food really does slow down your metabolism even more. The other thing I find is that we overexercise when we don't take our time to properly recover. And again, overexercising, look, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I go to the gym and I'm at the gym for 2 hours. I am not gonna lie. So overexercising without proper recovery actually increases cortisol levels and obviously creates inflammation. Inflammation then has a whole cascade. You hold on to water, you hold on, you don't feel good, you're not recovering well. And this is not what we really want. And a lot of these diets that we download and stuff like that, sometimes you can feel like a little bit shameful that it because you're thinking to yourself like, why can't I follow it? Understanding that it doesn't fit into your life. And as again, if you're working full time, maybe caring for aging parents, teenagers still at home, you manage your household, you're dealing with stress, maybe going through some relationship challenges, and changes. And the diet tells you that you need to prep 6 days a week, eat 5 small meals a day, avoid entire food groups. When you can't even keep up with what you're doing right now, and then having to keep up with all of that. Because guess what happens? Life happens. You then feel like you failed, but it's not that you're failing, it's that because what you're doing really is not matching your lifestyle, right? And you're trying to tell yourself, well, I can't keep up, or I have no willpower, or I have no discipline or no motivation. But you have to remember that really diet wasn't designed for you. It wasn't designed for your real life, right? You get you get disconnected from your body instead of listening to what your body is saying. So overall, diets teach you to ignore certain hunger things, right? Like, for example, things like, oh, you're not really hungry, just drink water. Well, that might work for a little bit, but obviously you have to go behind it and look about why you're craving certain things. Diets teach you to override certain cravings when you saying to yourself, like, you need just willpower. But why are you craving certain things? There is plenty of science knowledge behind that to say that certain times you crave certain things in your body. As women, we have a rhythm, and sometimes we crave different things at different times. But it also, we have to know to how to follow those in that internal wisdom that we have instead of just looking at the outside. And another thing that diets do, the more diets you do, and the more restrictive they are, especially, you stop trusting yourself. You stop knowing what your body actually needs, and that's the biggest tragedy I feel in the diet culture. So if diets are not your, so if diet's not the answer, what is? Well, first, you need to understand what's actually happening with your body after 40, right? So what changes after 40? And I want to break this down like as simple as possible. What actually happens to your body, not to scare you, but to empower you with knowledge. First and foremost, your digestion changes with age, right? Your stomach produces less hydrochloric acid, which means that you don't break down proteins efficiently. Your enzyme production decreases, so fats and carbs might not digest as smoothly. Your gut motility also slows down. So how mobile your gut is slows down. I mean, I know for a fact that that's for sure, because I realized that there's certain things I can't eat later on in the day after, now that I'm over 40 in my 50s. And, this can lead to a lot of things like bloating, constipation, or that heavy feeling that you have sometimes after meals. So again, this is why, again, for me, I've noticed that I have some problems with certain foods that never used to bother me before. Now it bothers me. And so it's not in your head, it's just physiology. It's just what's going on with your body. Your hormones are fluctuating or transitioning. So this phase actually, which starts for some people in your late 30s or early 40s, that perimenopausal stage where estrogen, progesterone starts fluctuating wildly. One week you might feel great, the next week you feel totally exhausted, bloating, craving sugar. And as you go through this whole spectrum, after, especially after menopause, then that estrogen drops significantly. Hallelujah, which happened to me, which it affects your metabolism, how you store fat, especially around your mid area. So everyone's out here running around the internet, interwaves, trying to tell us that it's all in your head. I mean, it's not all in your head. You obviously notice that your energy levels, your mood is different. All of this stuff is different. One of the things that we're already, as women, we have low testosterone levels, but this also really declines very sharply, and it impacts the way our muscle works, our muscle mass. This has a real effect on how we feel motivated. And they're not excuses. Honestly, when we tell people this, it's not excuses. These are real biological changes that affects how our body responds, how our body responds to food, how our body responds to exercise. So our stress pattern, cortisol shifts, impacts you differently now. So if you are still wondering, I know a lot of people know what cortisol is, because if you're a certain age group, that's all you hear about: cortisol. It is your stress hormone, and it's supposed to be highest in the morning and lowest at night. But when we live in a life of chronic stress, when we live in a body that's chronically stressed, which most of us have because of our stage in life, with poor sleep, we have hot flashes, we're not sleeping well. Some of us are insulin resistant, so we have wild swings in our blood sugar. We're under eating again with this 1100 calorie a day diets that we go on. It disrupts our pattern. So what that does, instead of having that high cortisol in the morning and low at night so we can actually go to sleep, it's high all the time. And
Looking up what we're going to eat today.
All right, where are we going to eat today?
We're going to pick up from this place.
And high cortisol signals your body to hold on to fat, especially belly fat. It also increases cravings, and restrictive diet is also a stressor. Restricted diets raise cortisol level, which make weight loss even harder. And again, so let's talk a little bit about the sleep. Sleep quality matters more than ever. Poor sleep disrupts our hunger hormones, your fullness hormones. So when you're sleep deprived, you feel hungry, you crave more carbs and sugar, and you have less willpower. Sleep affects our insulin sensitivity. Again, many of us at this stage in life, we are definitely more insulin sensitive. We have less sleep, means our body doesn't handle carbs as well. And during this stage, perimenopause, menopausal, sleep disturbances are incredibly common. Due to a lot of things, and most people have the night sweats and the hormonal shifts, which really affects our sleep. So recovery from extreme dieting takes longer. Your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. When you go on crash diets, you have extreme calorie restrictions, it can really take a toll and tank your metabolism. And as that whole system goes, you then have the added adage where you're not building muscle as much, and when you do all of that, building muscle becomes even more harder. But more importantly, maintaining your metabolism needs muscle. Your body needs more nutrients, and so if you're not giving your body what it needs, you are doing yourself a disservice. So if you take away anything from this, remember your body needs more nutrient, not less. Now, I'm not telling you this to make you feel hopeless. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand what's happening is the first step to working with your body instead of against it. This isn't about this isn't about about being aging being a bad thing. At least I'm proud of my age. I am proud to be in my 50s. It's about understanding that your body has different needs now than it did when you were in your 20s. And that's actually going to empower you. And it's when you know what to do about it, it just makes a whole lot of difference. So I really want you to take away these things and understand that what empowers you, what you can empower yourself with today, as opposed to not giving yourself the things that you need. Now I'm going to share some things with you because I want to let you know what I hear in my practice all the time from women. Um, you know, because here's the things I hear because it's just so familiar with everybody. Look, I'm doing everything right, but nothing seems to work anymore. Which basically means you're eating the same meals, doing the same workouts, but the scale won't budge. And of course, you're gaining weight sometimes instead of losing weight, right? And you feel that your body has betrayed you. But here's what happening. Your body needs have changed, but your approach hasn't. Another thing is I hear people say all the time, I feel like I'm eating nothing and still gaining weight. That's so familiar. Because you've cut your calories way too low, you're skipping meals, you're trying to be good, but your body is holding on to every calorie because it thinks that it's in a famine mode. You're under eating, your metabolism slowed down, you're increasing your stress, you're increasing your cortisol. Your body really needs adequate nutrition to function. And if you're not doing that in this stage, especially now, then you're not going to get the results that you desire. And you know what? I'm just speaking from experience. I'm speaking because I'm guilty of it too. Another thing is, I'm so tired of fighting my body because it feels like you're in a fight. You're in a constant battle of what should I do? Like you look in the mirror and think, what the hell else should I be doing? Because you feel like you're in a constant fight with this body to feel like how you want it to feel. Because deep down, each of us knows how we want our body to feel. Everything feels like the enemy. Food feels like the enemy. Your body feels like the enemy. You're exhausted, emotionally tired. You're mentally and physically tired. And you just want to feel really good again in your body. If this sounds familiar, look, I'm not alone. And I just really want to keep hammering that you're not alone. There's millions of women out there that's going through the same thing. So you yourself, you're not broken. You're not missing willpower. It's understanding. It's a different approach. And it's approach that shows that you respect where your body is now and not where you were 20 years ago. Right? So I'm going to just give you a few things that you actually can do instead. Really, this is so key for us to just get into alignment with our bodies. So, because what does work for us? Like you're like, Michelle, okay, I understand all of that. What is really does work? Let me break it down. Right? You need to have individualization. So I call it like bio-individual nutrition. A nutrition that fits in with your body, with your schedule, with your preferences, right? This means that understanding your unique digestion process, your unique energy patterns, your unique lifestyles. And we're not living from the cookie cutter diet plans that, everybody says throw this up and it's going to stick. It's really going to be individualized. And eating and working out in a way that feels sustainable for you. And so when I do my assessment with my clients and stuff like that, I call it the body blueprint, right? So this is, I'll dive deeper into it next week, but this is where your body blueprint really comes into focus. And what does it do? It's about hormone supportive eating habits that stabilizes your energy, your mood, right? It means about eating enough protein for you, not just a random or just eat more protein. Eating enough that supports your muscles, supports you what you want to achieve. It's talking about eating the healthy fats, not just avocados, right? And things that actually support that your hormone production. Because not everybody likes avocados, let's be real, right? Also, how do we time our food? Is this really important for us? Some of us, it's really important to when we time the food that we eat, especially our carbs, and how we strategically time it so that it actually is better for our energy and for our sleep without doing the things like causing your blood sugar to crash or spike, and which really and truly it triggers a lot of cravings, because this is not what you want. You want things that actually support your cravings, support the mood swings, supporting your adrenals with balance, nutrition, right? Because it's really important when you have regular balanced meals that support your energy and support your health. Understanding that we need to be a little bit more flexible instead of these rigid rules. Understanding life happens. Life happens, stress happens, social events happen. It's Christmas time. There's going to be a lot of social events. But if we can navigate this in such a way that gives our life some wiggle room instead of being so rigid, this is how we need to approach it. Approach it with that wiggle room. And this doesn't make you feel like you've ruined everything. If you have a piece of birthday cake, or you have a piece of, it's Christmas coming up, or you have some, I'm from the Caribbean, in Trinidad we have punch de creme, there's other islands that call it coquito. If you have a little sip of that, you might want a little piece of, in Trinidad we have something called fruit cake, we call it black cake. Might have a little piece of that. All of this is important because you want to live a life, because you don't want to keep going to certain things, going with your family, going with your friends, and always stressed out. This allows us to live your life and not just survive on these random meal plans, because really and truly I am beginning to realize more and more, being from a different culture, being from an island culture, that there are a lot of island food that I can actually make healthy, that I can reconnect with my own body instead of overriding the things that I grew up with, the things that my body actually, it's not that you can't change, but I grew up with certain things. And by growing up with certain things, my body sometimes wants those things because it's supported me, right? So these are all the things that we are using to reconnect with our body instead of overriding this. And by this, we're learning to trust ourselves. We're learning to trust what we're craving, our hunger, what we're hungry for. And we also, when we eat certain things, we understand like, hey, I can eat it, I can have a little bit, I can feel full, I can actually be satisfied with it, and recognizing that the difference between why am I craving this, what emotion am I needing to soothe, as opposed to real hunger, right? So when you listen to your body and it says, this food doesn't feel good, or I need more rest today, this is how we can get really in tune with ourselves. And by getting in tune with our bodies, we get in tune with our nutrition. And this also brings me to the last point for this show, is that understanding that when we tune in like this, we are building sustainable habits. We're not doing quick fixes, right? Right? We all want to be on this like, oh, this, I will lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, and everybody thinks that that's great. But when you lose the 10 pounds in 2 weeks, guess what happens? The next 2 weeks you gain back 10 pounds. So what we want to do is create habits that you can maintain for life. It's about feeling energized, sleeping well, having stable mood, and yes, reaching that healthy weight for you, but not doing it in such a way that it wrecks your metabolism, your relationship with food. Right? So this is like so important. So next week I'm going to walk you through exactly how do you start discovering what your body needs, and what I actually call your body blueprint. It's your personal map to eating in a way that feels good and gets your results that you need. So until then, we'll see you next week. Remember, thank you for listening. If this episode helps you understand a little bit of what we're talking about, I really hope that you will come back to it and you will listen to it and you will share it. So thanks for listening. Share it with somebody else that needs to hear this. Stay tuned for next week's episode when we dive into discovering your body's blueprint. Until then, I would like you to stay sweet, stay vibrant, Stay mindful of what your body's telling you, and remember that your body may not be the problem or isn't the problem. Maybe the approach that we're using is the real issue. So, see you again next time. Take care. Bye.